bunch for a list of people that are
Welcome, everyone, to Two Guys in Hockey Talk. My name is Pawel. In today's episode 12 of Two Guys in Hockey Talk with my wonderful co-host, Evan Renaerts. Evan, how you doing?
Hey, good. Sounds like you said talky talk, but that might be because I hear you are nursing an injury. Did this happen? Checking some guy into the board, or what happened?
No, it's a freak accident where I cut my finger. I don't know if I want to show it for the viewers, but I just cut a piece of my finger by accident with the tongs. So I'm a little bit out of commission. I'm a little slow on the mouse, but it's okay.
Okay, so it sounds like you might be like Jack Hughes here.
Oh no, not as bad there. I'll be ready to go in no time. I was thinking more that Jack Hughes is much more valuable to the New Jersey Devils than I am here to you. So let's start there. But welcome back, guys, to Two Guys. We are here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are on Twitter/X, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. Make sure to leave us a like. It does help us. Reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. And Elon Musk, if you're listening, please let Twitter/X have comments. Evan and I have been banging the drum on this until it is in play. But Evan, we've got a jam-packed show for everyone tonight. There's been a lot going on in the NHL news, but before we get there, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about your Revs Top 15. So let's get into it with Revs Top 15.
Revs Top 15.
Brought to you by the electronic hard rock band Penny Billionaires. Look for them wherever you find your music.
All right, what do you got for us tonight?
All right. Well, do you want to bring up on our banner there just so we can run the stream below so you guys can check out the top 15. For those that are not familiar, my Revs top 15 is based on where I see their trajectory career ending up. So when you check them out 10, 15 years later, likely these will be the rankings where I situate them, not as they come in or where they will be in the first few years. So someone like, we'll talk later, Slafkovsky, who got drafted first overall, would he still be a first overall if it was 10 years down the road? So essentially that's where it is. So we've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, and today I wanted to hit in on number 5. Now, a little bit different, guys. Let's talk Viggo Bjork, okay? He is one of the names that are heating up in the 2026 NHL draft class. And he's a guy that I got ranked in my personal top 5 to start the season. Now, I put this together in late August. So, again, remember, we will be updating. So, come January, I will give you a new updated, and then the last update will come the beginning of June. Now, Bjork skates in Sweden with the Djurgårdens, and he's not the biggest kid. He's about 5'10", roughly about 172 pounds. So he has room to grow. Now, what he lacks in size, he more than makes up in his hockey IQ, his vision, his puck skill, and his pure playmaking instincts. Some scouts that I've chatted with and some of the ones I've read about have been saying he's a cerebral tactician. I love that. And he's also a dangler playmaker. So he's the kind of forward that does not rely on that brute force. And he's always 2 steps ahead and exposing the opponents. So now his junior numbers are eye-popping. 74 points he had in 42 games last year in Sweden's J20. So he led the league despite being younger than many of the peers. Now that kind of production tends to rack up attention. Of course, he got my attention. So what's the upside? Bjork has the top 6 potential. He's a high IQ playmaker, and he can have enough skills to be dangerous on the power play, a skill set that could translate to be very versatile, middle of the ice forward, get into those neutral zones. Now, some will argue, and I'm a part of this camp, that he could be the best center in the entire 26 draft. Now, remember, there's not as good of centers this year, if all clicks, though, but I say a center. But no high upside prospect member is without risk when we talk about this, right? Because he does lack size and he does lack that straight line speed. That's probably more the legitimate skills. But if I'm projecting, he's going to land with a team, Pawel, that I believe that is looking for skill. It'll give him someone that's willing to give him time to mature and will help be able to surround him with complementary pieces. So I do see about a future 50, 60-point center, which is incredible in the league. You know, possibly a top 6 with real playmaking upside. So my take, where I take him and what I'd be watching for. So if I was a GM right now, I'm not. I'd be comfortable taking him top 5 to top 8 in 2026 if I wanted that. Now, what I do want to do is monitor his physical growth. Watch what is his skating this year under pressure. How is he producing in the SHL versus junior J20? And how is his two-way defensive willingness? So listen, I'd already be ready to pair him with the size or the physical wingers and centers to offset his frame. Just find those guys around him, much like they did with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins back in the day with the WHL Red Deer Rebels. But guys, that is my number 5, Vigo Abor.
I like it, and I think there's never enough centers in any organization, you would think, and you consider the teams that are at the bottom right now. Nashville looking for a center. Yeah. Vancouver decimated, needing a center potentially. Calgary, if they do decide to move on from Nazem Kadri, I mean, they could definitely use a center coming up. You know, you bring him up, you play him on the wing, and then you develop down the middle because that's what you want. You know, exactly. Toronto, if they continue on this trajectory. So defensemen are coveted, but centers are also very highly. So the fact that he's one of the few, it'll be interesting to see where he goes in the draft, given where teams are placed and what teams prioritize. Of course, we know what Gavin McKenna, of course, we know Keegan Verkov, what he's going to bring, but really, that's interesting. Anyone else you want to bring up or no?
No, that's good for today. We'll just leave it at that. I will say this, though. Please, you guys are hearing a lot of people talking about Gavin McKenna is being truly challenged. There's a top 5. Elite Prospects is playing with you. These guys are playing with you. In fact, let me just say this. So we have a gentleman who is a scout. My problem is getting on some of these guys in Europe. It's a little bit more difficult time-wise. But what I am being told right now from them is, now, I don't know this for a fact, but I've been told by a scout over in Sweden has said, listen, Penn State University, Godowski plays the closest to an NHL-style structure. And so he says, watch for how they're playing. So I've asked some questions around this because Pawel, maybe he's not playing the same because, number one, he doesn't have the same guys around him like a lot of the other teams that are loaded. And maybe he's playing a different structure that doesn't allow him just to go freelance like he did in the WHL. Whereas if he was with Michigan, maybe he's racking the points, but is he as prepared? Because my understanding, Gavin doesn't care if he doesn't go first overall. I think we all believe he still will be the number 1 player no matter what happens come 10 years down the road.
100%. And if you want to look at a closer, a recent comparable, you look at the trajectory of Shane Wright and everything that has happened there. And I know we've taken a little bit more time than expected, but we love our prospects here. But you look at him and, you know, he was coveted to being going first. Montreal did not go that way. They went with Slafkovsky. Now, again, Slafkovsky has really thrived under the Montreal coaching style, and the team is rolling, right? Of course, they've been decimated by injuries, but Shane Wright, you know, he goes 4th. Seattle takes his time. So he goes down to the Thunderbirds to really develop his game. He goes to the finals in the postseason a couple times. He represents the World Juniors a few times, and all of a sudden now he's a top 9 bona fide guy, sometimes playing top 6 minutes for Seattle, who's really doing well this year, all because Ron Francis was patient with him and said, you know what, let him develop, let him season. And it looks like that's something that any of these players that you indicate could do. And so no career path is a linear straight. Not everyone is McDavid. Not everyone is Austin Matthews. Not everyone is Sidney Crosby.
That's right.
You know what? The rest of the draft, you guys got to find your way to get your skates. Yeah. and get them on and develop and build those skills, and also build between the ears. And that's how you get into the game.
So what do you think of this? So just because we're mentioning past drafts, if you guys remember, we call it the COVID year, the COVID draft. Slafkovsky was drafted first, and everyone said, look at Shane Wright. And this year, they are tied. They both got 20 games in, both got 10 points. He's looking at a 30-something point season, 35, 38-point season, which for a first overall, with his skill and with his size, he should be dominating far quicker than Shane Wright. Shane Wright's he's big, he's got skill and stuff like that, but they've taken a different trajectory. However, the difference is someone like Slafkovsky still got to play during COVID, whereas Wright almost had no games. So you are right. Someone like if we think back to Yakupov's year when he was drafted first overall, Galchenyuk, I mean, right there behind him, number 3 drafted overall. In fact, Morgan Riley was the star of that year, the best player, essentially. Who was number 2? It was the defenseman, Ryan. Edmonton considered drafting him. They ended up getting him later on. I'm trying to remember. Oh, man. If anyone's there, you might have actually been seeing something like that along the way. But man, yeah. So I am telling you.
Ryan Murray.
What's that?
Ryan Murray.
Ryan Murray. Yeah. I mean, what? But the draft wasn't as good. And that happens some years. Even Nico Hischier's year, right? I mean, he was a first overall, like top end. There's always going to be players that kind of shine through. Yeah.
Yeah. Zylstra says Shane Wright is playing 30 line. That's why I said top 9 minutes, but sometimes gets second power play unit minutes. I mean, that's what I'm saying. He's building up to getting into that because Seattle, they play by committee. And yeah, I mean, even in that draft, if you go back to it, it's not till Morgan Riley, who went at 5th, and Hampus Lindholm, who still have great careers. Matt Dumba, he's had a hard time. I think he's in Buffalo right now. They're trying to figure it out. Jacob Trouba was 9th. Philip Forsberg, who's probably one of the better ones out of that draft, went 11th to Washington. Cody Ceci still playing. Tom Wilson, who's turned out to be a phenomenal one, went 16th. Thomas Hertel. Andrei Vasilevsky, who I probably would consider going top 3 now, given his trajectory. So, again, prospects, guys, you can't overinflate things and you can't undervalue things. You have to let it simmer and develop. And I know fans can't, they're not as patient sometimes, ourselves included, because you want to see these guys make an immediate impact, but you got to wait sometimes and before they have their careers. But we'll get into it a little bit more later. But this has been Rev's Top 15.
Rev's Top 15.
Brought to you by the electronic hard rock band Penny Billionaires. Look for them wherever you find your music.
All right, so we're going to get down to some...
Zill was asking a question, saying that she thought that I think Bjorg was second in SHL scoring. I have the stats up here in front of me. And no, Borg is not. There's some high end right now. Oscar Lindbergh's got 34 points in 22. There's quite a few in there. So I think Borg is going to be quite a ways down, probably around the 30 and down. But there's some tough competition. The SHL this year, that might be a discussion we should talk next week. They are lighting it up, and that's not a normal thing. It's a hard league to score in. So looks like it's not just the NHL where scoring is up.
Awesome. Well, we did want to get into what's been kind of going on before we return back to the SHL. But, of course, the NHL is on tonight. 15 games on tonight, only one last night, and it was a shellacking. So I wanted to get your thoughts, Evan, both on the Edmonton and Dallas side because what's it called? You've got Dallas without Mikko Rantanen, who got finally suspended for one game after that awful hit on Matt Coronado. And then, of course, you've got Edmonton, who looks like they took a shellacking, but then Jamie Benn comes out of injury and scores his 400th goal. Your thoughts on the game, and what did the Edmonton Oilers do now? Because there's a lot of noise right now in the city of Edmonton.
Okay, just so, because I don't want to get into too much discussion, because right now the city of Edmonton, I was hoping to have things done. I've been in conversation. They're going to send me a draft of information, a write-up of a scouting report analysis on Stuart Skinner. Been back and forth on X and a whole things with a bunch of folks. So you guys, obviously, I didn't play pro, didn't play juniors. I've studied the game of goaltending my whole life. I can tell you all the details. I can tell you what you need to do. I feel if I was given an opportunity, I could do a great job. But you know what? You guys say, Evan, don't believe you. So you know what I'm doing? We're setting up our Goaltending Nation next week, as well as, by the way, we have Hart Levine from Puckpedia on next week, guys. So don't miss it. You got some questions, send them over to us. But anyway, so I've asked him to do a breakdown, and he's going to do a breakdown. Now, this is interesting because I got my own information that I've got. So I've got some scouts. They're not goalie scouts. Some scouts, some folks that are pretty familiar coaching goaltenders. And then I actually have a pro goaltending coach and pro scout that is sending me some information we're going to release to you. Exactly the breakdown of what's happening with the Oilers defensively. And is it the goaltender? Is it a mixture? What is it? So I don't want to talk much about Skinner, if I can just say that, Pawel, because I'm going to do that more next week. But I don't know about you. This team doesn't even look happy. They don't look happy when they start a game. Like, they look depressed. What I am finding, I'm just going to be frank here, everyone. I like Chris Knobloch. I just like him as a person, and I think that he just plays a simple game, but I think he gets outcoached. He's got outcoached in the playoffs. He's relied on his two superstars. And 13 games. Can I just say this? Pawel, you give me your thoughts. Jay Woodcroft had the best winning percentage over a year and a half, started the season 13 or 17 games in, and they canned him, sent him walking, a brand new contract he just had, he signed, and then they send him walking to turn that thing around, and they get to the Stanley Cup, of course, with Chris Knobloch coming in. But now Chris Knobloch has had over 20-some games or whatever now. They're at a similar point production. That includes the year from 3 years ago. Why is Chris Knobloch not being made accountable? Like, is it really? Because some people say it's Knobloch. Some people say it's a whole breakdown defensively. Some people say that it's on the goaltending. Where do you stand? Because I think, number one, this is what needs to happen.
Well, the Wanderer turns in and says different GM, but what I think really is happening is that
I don't
the Edmonton Oilers believe they are closer than they really are. So they believe that they are at back-to-back Stanley Cup finals. Although they lost in 6 last year, 7 the year before. Really, what's going on is that they believe in this group. They believe that they can turn it around.
Yeah.
I think the big factor is that they've lost Paul Coffey, and for whatever reason, regardless of the influence he's had, he was going in there and giving a bit more intensity to the guys. Now, Paul Coffey's not known for his coaching, but he would talk to guys. He talked to Darnell Nurse when the play wasn't going well. He talked to Cody Ceci at the time when he was still here. But you got a team that's a little older. Ekholm is a little bit older. I know he signed a contract. Wallman's coming here full year. Of course, that's going to be beneficial. But really, at the end of the day, you're missing that great fire. The one issue I have with Knobloch.
Can I just stop you for a sec? Because they're actually younger this year than they were last year. And they're actually quicker this year than they were last year.
I know, but Kulak has struggled, for example, right? And Wanderer says Ekholm, Mangiapane, Rico, all should be listed for a trade with Skinner. I agree. I mean, Rico and Adam Henrique have really thrived this year. Like, he's having a good, solid year. Not the best, you know.
Adam Henrique?
Rico. Yeah.
Oh,
not
man. I feel like he's way overpaid now. Like, he should be $1.5 million player.
Of course, but I mean, where are you going to get that other? I mean, they have a few of those contracts, but really, and Wanderer agrees with me. Bring back Paul. He kept the D accountable. I agree. Yeah. I think the new, I think it's Mark Stewart's that's in. They've just struggled to really put things into perspective, and I find that there isn't as much accountability. Like, they've benched, I think, Bouchard once for a shift or a period this season.
Yeah, I think a period.
I really think that Knobloch is a little bit more animated, and I've only
seen Nurse. This is the worst season I've ever saw him.
He is struggling, and again, I think the problem is you need a little bit more from everybody. And I don't think right now this team has an identity. And when the coach says the identity is that this is Leon and Connor's team, that's not an identity. That's two guys. This is not basketball. You got to have a bit more, right? And Wanderer says we can't get rid of that Nurse contract due to the contract. Listen, nobody thought that they would trade the St. Seth Jones contract. Anything is possible. You got to approach things methodically, and you got to be able to do this. But I really think, I'm not saying Knobloch should be kicked out, but he should have some feet or fire to the feet because he has not performed to the level of holding guys accountable. And he does over rely on his superstars. Like in the game last night, why not play Clattenburg? Great game for the young kid, 20-year-old, throwing his body more, right? Then I look at the GM and I look Frederick contract and I go, well, who signed that contract? You know, McDavid took a pay cut for what? For Frederick to be here 8 years, and he's got two goals on the year in 25 games. Like
and he doesn't even hit. He doesn't hit, and his hits are weak.
The one fight he had with Matthew Joseph, like you got to put up a little bit more. And I think this team needs a fiery passion. You know who they had that from last year? Corey Perry. The year before, Corey Perry. Yeah. You know, you guys got who are fiery and bringing the battle to you.
Yeah, I think I saw Zill commenting on that one too. Yeah.
So DeBoer could potentially be a replacement, as Wander was saying, right? I don't know if coaching is going to make a change, but you can't change all 20 plus players on the bench. Yeah. So you got to do something. Now, I really think they need to assess whether they have something with Ingram and bring him up.
Yeah.
And I really think Stuart Skinner needs to just, I don't know, like mentally find himself. Now, I don't condone death threats to his life, to his family. He's just not panning out as he should have, but he is still young. He is only making, what is it? We talked about it, 3 million, 3 max, 3.5.
Yeah. He's 3.5, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my thought.
Okay, so what about this? You send Pickard down, you bring Ingram up, so you just switch them out for one another for a little while. Let's just see if maybe Stu plays a little bit better, maybe he doesn't. You're going to see whether or not Ingram actually can rise to the challenge, even though he's not quite ready yet. So that, I mean, it's not going to hurt, right? I mean, at this stage, you're still looking. It sounds like it. I mean, everything around local boy Edmonton's Bob Stauffer makes a lot of references that I think the chain will be given until close to Christmas. After that, there will be a move if it's not improving at that stage. So I'll get right to you, Wonder, in just a moment here. Something has to go out there. So I just like to say this. This is when I've been asked around this. What would you do? Okay, first of all, I am moving out the coach, but I'm not moving him out unless I got someone better. Pete DeBoer, I bring him in. I just have a talk with him. You can't throw the goaltender under the bus or do players under the bus like that. I think he already knows that. He's a pretty smart guy. He outcoaches everybody. Often he outcoaches. He only gets outplayed when you got superstars. That was the only reason, in my opinion, on those series, right? And let's face it, Ottinger got outplayed too. So I am moving out Skinner. I'm looking for something. Now, Wonder, you probably saw, because you and I are doing some stuff on X, and we saw some people coming through. There is someone you may not realize, but is a pro scout that actually is connected to of course, he's connected to an NHL team. But one of the teams that he suggested is that if you can retain 40 to 50% of Nurse's contract, he thinks a team that like Detroit and or a team like specifically like Nashville might take him in trading out and bringing like along with a first round pick and someone like, not people won't like this, but Ike Howard, say Ike Howard, a first round and Nurse at 50% retained. Then you can get Saros and something else with the defense, right? To be able to move around, to make things work. That's not a bad idea. I mean, because I think Nurse is a big part of the problem. But let me go back to you now quickly, and let's wrap up the Oilers on this one. And then you can mention anything said here. There was talk that the Oilers, and this came from Frank Saravelli, I believe, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Saying that the players kept saying, no, don't change out, because they wanted to bring Ingram up and send, this is what he's saying. What do you think about that? Because I think even Zylstra has said this before. Why are they protecting their friends? They're sticking around for their friends. And it seems like a lot of people just want good guys in the dressing room when they actually need players that can get the job done.
Well, because he did help save and or salvage their season last year in the LA series. I mean, he did come out and play well. He did the same versus Vancouver, at the beginning, and it goes to show you that that you need to have camaraderie and team bonding inside that room, because they do have to dig themselves out of this. But when and again, I don't know what context Frank Saravelli has, but if management is listening to players, and they should to some extent, but if management is letting players dictate the roster, you have a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Because who's in charge here? Now, I give full credit to, if Connor McDavid wants something, he should have it 100%. He has given everything he can for this city. But I mean, really, you need to change something up.
And I actually don't think it was Connor. I don't think Connor said anything.
Better. They're not playing defensively sound, and that's been the thing. So you can have, Vasilevsky behind there. You can have Shesterkin behind there. Yeah. He's still going to let in a few. Now, you do need a save. I agree. But the leaky chances they're going off is a lot of giveaways, a lot of other stuff. And so, again, you got to figure it out. And clearly the new goalie coach isn't working. Clearly, whatever systems are being implemented. And Knobloch talked about new systems that they're trying to implement. And if you recall, Jay Woodcroft tried the same thing. Well, these systems didn't work against Vegas and we lost. So we're going to implement a new one. And then he was gone, right? The Wanderer has just been sharing some stuff. So, he's talking about, Saros with Stamkos and McDavid potentially. Nashville looks like they're going to sell. He says, personally, I'd rather keep picks over Skinner. At least we could drop picks for Ingram. I agree. He's cheaper, and clearly the guys like him. You can also tell the body language of how they played in front of Skinner versus in front of Pickard, right? And is that telling? Does that, body language say something, right? And the Wanderer says he's not letting 8 or 9 in. I mean, there's been 3 or 4 bad games this year. So I don't know what to make of this team, but they got to turn it around because we're getting to American Thanksgiving and it's not getting any better.
So just to the Wanderer. So next week, I've got a pro goalie, like I said, that's going to do a breakdown of the whole Oilers thing. So I'm going to have it on my Goaltending Nation. He doesn't speak really good English, so I'm not able to actually get him live on the show. But definitely we are setting it up here. So what was 100% the language? Sorry,
body language that I was talking about, but I'm not too sure about the not true parts.
Yeah, what? Just maybe give us a little context.
Yeah, context. So what's going on now? Before we, because we can wrap up on this, I wanted to talk about Minnesota, who's been really red hot in the last little bit. And a lot of it is due to a draft pick that the Oilers gave up to trade up in the, what's it called? In the draft, and that's just for Wall Street.
What's it called? Yeah, they give away a draft pick, and what's it called?
Not draft. 4 bad games, 15 bad games. Yeah, I guess. I mean, they played very well in some of the games. The Tampa Bay game they lost, but they won. The Calgary game they didn't look as hot, and they ended up losing. They look in pockets.
I got Skinner down as 2 good games. Of all the games he's played, 2 good games.
I'm talking about the team, but yes.
Oh, okay. I thought he was talking about Skinner. So.
Yeah.
Skinner. I got 2 good games, one okay game, and the rest are all bad games.
The New York Rangers game was one, but again, he was lucky with the post and a few others, right?
Yeah.
So, and he says, Wanderer says 15 of the 18, he let in 3 or more. I agree. He keeps letting silly goals and doesn't have a save when we need him to make a big stop.
Actually, let's hit on, before we wrap up the Edmonton piece, because this is important. So Nick Kyprios has put it out there, and there's a lot of rumors swirling, actually. I saw you were talking about with Buffalo, some stuff, Wonder. But Jordan Binnington, and this is not going away. So something to recognize, Stewart is ready to go into a contract. So if he was part of a trade, a team could just drop him, get him out. But they could also move out Binnington if they don't think that this is their year, and let Hofer go for it with whoever, like a Skinner backing him up or working off side by side. Maybe Skinner pulls it around in a different system. We've watched guys like Devin Dubnyk, right? Yep. But Binnington has experience, even though he's not having a great year. People keep saying they want him on Team Canada, but yet you wouldn't want him on the Oilers. I don't know. But get this, he only has 1 more year. So you'd only have 1 more year to deal with. and then you don't
You're
have
going
that
to the
contract, or
offseason
you
with
let
20
go.
million plus.
Yeah. So anyway, I do
agree.
just want to say that.
My other thing with Bennington is he's a winner. He's a proven winner. He won in Four Nations and he's won a Stanley Cup, and he's a fiery guy, whether you like him or not.
Yeah, and that's
He's
true.
a
Four Nations
fiery guy, and
last
he
year.
reminds me of pockets of Mike Smith. The compete level is there, right? Not to say that Skinner isn't competitive. It's just you see it more in terms of, again, body language, in terms of how he approaches things, right? Like, whether or not you agree with him, he's wanted to fight a few guys, right? He's had some antics on the ice, but people know who he is because he brings it. He brings his A game. So, and he is most likely going to the Olympics. But anyway, so Jesper Wallstedt, he helps the team with another 3-0 victory over Winnipeg. So again, they extend their streak to 7-0-1 in the last 3 games. They do play tonight, but he wins his 5th straight game, making 32 saves. He's got his 3rd shutout. This kid was a first-round pick, and he is turning it on. And I love what he is bringing. Edmonton fumbled the ball here, Ken Holland, because they picked up for Xavier Bourgault amongst another pick.
They traded down.
And they traded down, and they had to give him, and they traded him to to Ottawa as well, who I think he's playing for their farm team. So again, not a good pick, and it struggled, but good for Minnesota because it looked like they were kind of, fighting through it at the beginning of the season, but they're here now. Go ahead.
Just in defense of Edmonton on this one, they were trading down, hoping for Tristan Jarry, and Jarry got picked. Was only 1 or 2 picks ahead of where they were landed, and the plan all along wasn't Bourgault. They had a few different players, but Jarry was one of them, and they were hoping to land it. But why didn't they take just? Yeah. There was talk
on their lap.
Oh, he was perfectly. Everyone thought they were going that direction, and then Ken Holland decided to figure it out his way. One thing I heard is he would not be coming in the window of Connor McDavid. Well, guess what? This was the window of Connor McDavid, and this could have been the proper time, right?
And do you know if Jarry played at Edmonton on his youth level? I can't remember.
Yes. Yes, I believe he did. Yes.
Okay.
Just so you know, so Wanderer, just go to Elite Prospects and then type in Jarry's name and then just go down under the right side. Go to the very bottom, but or even at the top, it'll show you some of the places he played. I believe he was a local boy though when they picked him up. If not,
well, this starts getting into the Eastern Conference, which we'll get to in just a bit. But before we jump over, because there's a lot, only 5 points separating 14 teams, including Buffalo and I think Toronto's at the bottom there. But they've been struggling.
I was going to say, this is funny, right? What you said, 5 points separating, and 2 weeks ago it was 3 points. So wow, the gap's opening every week.
It is insane, and of course,
one more point separating in a whole week of hockey. That's crazy.
But Gary Bettman loves this. It's the parity. He loves the competition because you don't know what's happening, right? So nobody's really beyond Colorado. Props to them. No one's really taking the reins in the NHL, right? Some teams have it figured out and are consistent, but really, it's kind of a middle of the pack. But before we jump over to the East, I did want to talk about one other goalie, and that's Connor Hellebuck, who's going to be out for Winnipeg right now because he had to get knee surgery. So he's going to be out at least 4 to 5, if not 6 or longer weeks. That's a big loss.
And it's a big loss for the Olympics.
Yeah.
Because
they have a few other guys.
But I think he was a shoo-in. He was going to be, I mean, he was there no matter what.
Is Jake Ottinger's job now, or who do you consider to go?
Well, so I will say, people are talking about Jake Ottinger was worse than Stuart Skinner. Well, guys, if you just look last night, he was above a 900 save percentage. He was like 904 going into last night. So, he let in, what was it?
So is it Demko? I know Wanderer was asking if you trade for Demko. I wouldn't, just because of his injury history. But do you trade him? Plus,
man. I don't know. I might.
And Vancouver's not going to trade for him. Vancouver's not going to trade because Edmonton actually went after Seelovs in the offseason, and Vancouver didn't want to trade in they said they're going to send him to the East, which they did to Pittsburgh.
Like what's with this with teams not trading within if it can benefit you? If you think, I get you asking for more, right? Because you don't if you're trading Demko, it's because you don't think he's going to pan out for you. If you think
they already did a favor to Edmonton by taking Evander Kane, right?
They didn't do a favor.
They
they
did
were
you a favor. He has
okay,
not been good. He has
okay,
struggled. They had to plug a
okay,
hole
hang on.
for
Okay, watch
top
this.
6 roles.
Let me ask you this. So Kane was here. Who would not
Yeah,
be signed?
that's fine. You still have him for
No,
one
no,
more
no,
year.
no. Let's go back. I just need you to answer the question. Who would not be signed? Trent Frederick would not have got his contract if Kane had not been gone, right?
Oh.
So Edmonton actually is paying for not having Kane this year. I think it ended up affecting his game because they're playing a different system. The system in Edmonton works to Kane's game. And I think it's hurting them. I know they didn't have him last year, but they didn't have a great season like the year before when he played. So
He takes a lot of
what?
penalties.
So what if they make a play now? I know. By the way, I was asked last week by Zill if Kiefer Sherwood could be potentially in play, and the answer now is yes. I'm seeing him on big boards for trade lists, and so what I'm wondering now is Kiefer Sherwood or even Evander Kane on a discounted contract. Could he come back to finish off the season for the playoff run? Could that be a potential? Something could happen because right now they went out of the contract. I know that.
They do, but they only have 1 year, and it looks like they're going to retool again, right? Because the owner does.
So then, why don't they pick up something then if they can get a good prospect again, or
because
something?
you need bodies, and you're essentially decimated. They're dealing with a lot of injuries, and so Evander Kane's got to play. I mean, he's got 3 goals and 8 assists in 23 games. You need a little bit more from him if he's going to play in your top 6. I know they have Brock Besser up there with Pettersson sometimes, but you need more. And I know they brought in David Kampf. Who technically should be a 4C technically, but I don't know. Like you need a little bit better. I know Zylstra said he's one of the better. From what I've watched, he has struggled. He takes unnecessary penalties as he did in Edmonton, and he plays a particular kind of game. He's a Sam Bennett style of game where he's great in the
playoff guy. He's a playoff guy.
That's really all it is.
So can I just say this? Nick Kyprios on his big board for trade board has Elias Pettersson number 2 overall potential to go. Number 2, Elias Pettersson. I don't know. Nick doesn't normally do something that extreme. So I'm wondering if there's something in there.
Zylstra says, I'm just parroting what the media saying. No, I have family who loves the Vancouver Canucks, so I watch way more Vancouver Canucks than I need to, and he has not looked that good. I'm telling you. Now he can do all the off-ice interviews he wants on the plane rides, be a comrade, really connect with the community. But I just haven't seen it for him, right? You can't tell me that a guy who's making 4.5 plus million, if not more, I think it is 4.75. What is he? Again, 3 goals, 8 assists, and 36 penalty minutes and -6. That's not good, Zylstra.
Okay, do you know what Zylstra's seeing, though? She said about the points thing. I think what she's seeing is, just like in Edmonton, he doesn't cost you points. He doesn't cost you the game. He's got the puck usually in the offensive
penalties.
zone.
Penalties. I don't understand.
You are right. You are right.
Penalties and -6. You can't.
Can I ask you this? I actually think Connor McDavid this year, I'm not trying to go back to Edmonton again. We got to get to the East here. But Connor McDavid is terrible with his penalty taking this year. He is a part of the reason that the Oilers are not doing well.
He's only got, I think, a goal in the last few games here, so he needs to pick it up as well.
He needs to be accountable to himself for these penalties he's taking. They're silly penalties that he's taking that he doesn't need to push the limits. He needs to relax, and I'm telling you, that whole team needs to just go have fun and just – they're losing anyway, so at least go out and have some fun.
I'm calling for Pettersson. I think he's sticking around. I don't think they're going to trade him because – it may seem like a lot for a top line center, but 11.6 with the cap going up, you're going to need players to play.
So wonder, you said who is signing Pettersson, or do you mean who is trading for him? He's in the middle of a contract.
Pettersson, unless he was talking about the waiver wire. Pettersson is not going to be traded anytime soon. They got rid of Miller last year, but there's always
you might eat those words saying that he's not being traded. They are not happy with his play.
Maybe, but he's not going to be traded right now. Like, what are you trading him for?
Well, yeah, nobody's trading him at this moment, but the trade deadline.
Maybe in the offseason, you're going to revisit him, but not anytime soon. And he probably wants to go to the Olympics and represent his country. So, are you not going to do that? And Edmonton is a tired team, just like Florida, according to the Wanderer. Yeah, but Florida has 2 cups and they're a little bit higher in the standings. So, speaking of the East, I mean, it's
But
been
they're
dog
missing two stars though. They got their number one player and they
They're
got
still
their
playing.
biggest
They're still
advocate.
playing hard, right? Like I
No,
mean,
but I'm just saying they have a bigger reason to be behind when Barkov is not playing.
100%.
And
But
this is the one of the worst years Bobrovsky has played.
can we talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs? Because like
do
the
it.
Edmonton Oilers of the West, they seem to be struggling this year, and they can't figure it out. Now they're getting some guys back tonight. They've got Roy tonight. They got Austin Matthews coming back, and I believe Matthew Nyes is also coming back. But they have really, really struggled in the last little bit. They're playing Columbus tonight. I think the Wanderers said they're already down. What do you make of Toronto, and what do they do? Because I don't know if they're making the playoffs this year. I really don't. I think losing Marner has been a bigger loss than I expected them to have. I thought they'd come by committee and score, but does not look good.
Okay, so I don't know, man. This feels like deja vu because I feel like each week or every other week you're asking me this question about the Maple Leafs and nothing changes for me. And we're saying the same thing about Marner. You don't replace, $10 million plus whatever, with $10 million in contracts, like plural. It just doesn't work that way. You need star players. By the way, get ready, Wanderer. Easton Cowan, there's a good chance he gets traded out for them to bring something in. I don't think that they're going to be patient.
Oh my God.
They need to be patient. I like Easton Cowan. If I could get him, I'd send out somebody.
They traded Fraser Minton for Brandon Carlo plus a first.
Oh,
I know it's
okay.
projected. It's been phenomenal.
Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, Minton, that trade, if they finish anywhere above 6th overall, like in the standings, okay, that means they lose their draft pick. They do not keep it. They only keep it if they're 1 to 5 at the bottom. Otherwise, that draft's it's only protected bottom 5. So if they finish 7th worst team in the NHL, they lose a 7th round draft pick for him. Like, was that worth it? Like, what is going on?
They've been trading away. Their cupboards are empty. I mean, they're going to need something, right? The Wanderer says the Leafs should be rating Vancouver for Sherwood, Kiefer Sherwood, and Hronek. I mean, Vancouver's open for business, but Toronto's got to figure out. I apologize for asking you, but we love the Leafs. We're going to see more of the Leafs next time, and I guarantee you there's going to be more questions because the mecca of hockey is going to continue to bring more.
Well, and how many years left? 2 years left on the contract for Austin Matthews, and then he's going to be a free agent?
Yeah.
It's just like, but his
three, because he signed a 4-year deal.
So
first year of the deal, and he had a 4-year deal.
Okay, so let's start a new conversation around Austin Matthews before we move on. So I want to ask you guys out there, and anyone, if you're listening, whether you're listening live right now, or if you are someone who's watching in the follow-up podcast, still put something in the comments for us. My question is, Austin Matthews, we talked forever that he's signing a 5 years so he can go back and play with the Arizona Coyotes. Well, they're gone. They're not there. So if he leaves the Leafs, where would be the next place in America that he would want to go play?
LA.
You're picking LA?
I'm picking LA, somewhere in California. Maybe even, what's it called? Maybe even San Jose.
Okay, why? I'm just curious. Your reasoning is
up and coming team, gonna have cap space. You have some young stars coming in, and you're gonna be able to perform. And
I got another one for you.
Okay.
Money, up and coming. You just brought up a good point. What if he went to the San Jose Sharks or the Chicago Blackhawks?
Oh yeah.
Either one of those teams, up and coming, 2 years away. They're going to have cap space still, even though those guys are coming up on their contracts. But they're not. They got to. I mean, like deals like Nazar. I mean, I was not in favor of the Planet, but he's looking good. Both those teams right now.
Bedard has a new contract coming up. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Well, I agree. I think. I mean, anything can happen in 3 years. That's a long time in the hockey world.
I'm sorry, Leafs fans. I'm not trying. I'm just doing what you guys did to Edmonton.
But the one credence I can give to Toronto fans, like anything else, is that, Evan, do you remember when Vegas missed the playoffs just by a few points and it looked bad?
Yeah.
What did they do the following year?
Yeah.
What did they do the following year? exactly. Remember when the Florida Panthers won the President's Trophy? What happened in the postseason?
Oh, yeah.
They fizzled out, only for them to go back to back. You know, like it
Wow.
just goes to show you, like things change.
Well, here's another
on
one.
one season.
They
Go
get
ahead.
Nathan McKinnon, and then what happens to the Nate? Right? They are a terrible team, and they get Nathan McKinnon, and then once they get Nathan McKinnon, they start winning. Right? It just like that because Colorado was doing good. That was an anomaly. Another year when Philadelphia got James Van Riemsdyk that year, and I remember they finished like one of the worst teams, and right after that they end up back in the cup or in the finals. Or like you're so right. Just because you're out one season doesn't mean like I mean everyone thought the Rangers were back. Well, now they might be going back for another top end draft pick.
So Zylstra says so much for pause prediction of Matthews breaking the grade 8's record. He still can do it. I mean, Ovechkin, the problem is Ovechkin is still playing and he's already at 900 plus goals. The problem is Austin Matthews is already at 410 goals, right? And he's still very young. I mean, what? He's 28 years old. So if he plays for another 8 years and he puts up minimum 40 to 45 goals a year, he can get pretty close, Evan, right? Like, I'm not saying he can't break it. It's hard to say, right? You talk about prospects and where they're going to end up in their career. I'm not saying that Austin Matthews will beat Ovechkin because Ovechkin can keep scoring. He may play next year. We don't know. He's up in the air right now with his career. But really, perhaps he will get there, right? It's hard to say at this point.
Okay, so I've just done. I'm just calculating things right now. I'm trying to figure out. I'm kind of standing in the middle between Pause here and Zylstra, the lost trucker. But would Austin Matthews? What would it take goals per season, right, to do it at the same amount of time? So realistic challenges, right? Because he's only played one full 82 game season. That's part of the problem, right? To consistently do that, he would have to play. And is it coming up for me? I just used ChatGTP to see. He'd have to maintain elite goal scoring of 40 to 50 goals per year without losing any injury time, and he'd have to play for 13 more seasons. And that's if maybe there's only 1 year left in Ovechkin. Because if he keeps going, man, Ovechkin could go 3 more years. I mean, he could do that.
He's
Seriously.
unstoppable, yeah. Yeah, but records are made to be broken, and if it isn't going to be Austin Matthews, it could be somebody else. I wouldn't be surprised if Austin Matthews finishes very high in the top scoring of the NHL, given what he's able to do, provided he's healthy.
I have a player. A player.
Ahead.
I was gonna say Leon Draisaitl because but no, Leon didn't start goal scoring early enough. He had 2-3 seasons before he started. So to make up that difference, unless Leon started having some 70 goal seasons, that would be the only way. And he'd probably have to play also till 40. But Leon's like Ovi. He's a big guy and he's very durable. And I think that was Ovi's benefit as opposed to a guy like Gretzky, right? Or even Lemieux, who wasn't built solid but was big, around it.
I agree. And Wonder asks, do you think somebody can tempt Ovechkin to move other than Florida Panthers? No, I don't think so. He's going to retire a capital, and that's going to be the end of the career.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't.
It's fun to think about.
I would put it out there, Evan, in the universe that I could see this being potentially the last season for Ovechkin. I'm just throwing that out there.
Just because of the feel and some of the stuff that has happened, like even when McDavid was there, right?
And stuff like that. Yeah, he's not doing the what's it called? He's not doing the Anze Kopitar farewell tour. He's doing kind of the quiet.
Well, and I think for him it would be insane, and he doesn't like that. Can I just say this? If Ovechkin goes out and finishes his career this year, that makes you that much more all-time greatest of all time kind of a player. And the reason is to go out. That'd be like Michael Jordan when he retired the first time and didn't come back. Unfortunately, Michael tried to come back that one time with the Wizards years later, which kind of wrecked his legacy to me. But if you can go out still being what you are right now, like Ovechkin, like being one of the top 15 players in the league, essentially still, and just say, oh, I'm done. I'm 40. Like that, man.
Well,
That's mic drop type stuff.
That's true. And Wanderer says, I don't know, boys. Florida comes at deadline, could be another Machado. 100%.
Oh,
Anything can change in the instance of a phone call, right? One phone
So
call,
what-
as Elliot Freeman says, and then it changes. So I
when
understand, but
yeah, I just want to mention to Wanderer that just before you start thinking about Barkov's salary, I've been told by someone that is a former player, NHL player, that they actually said that they had the exact same kind of injury and that they actually probably expect a month or a month and a half before the end of the season, worst case 2 weeks before, to start getting some games in. So that salary may not be available. They'll have some room, but not all of it.
And he says when Bill Zito calls, shows him the sunshine in those cups. I agree. I'm not saying it's not tempting to go there, but the one player that I would consider seeing or potentially being moved is his fellow countryman Evgeny Malkin, who has a home in Florida.
Oh.
That would be. I know he's net, but I'm saying that.
No,
would
but you
be
heard though, right? Did you?
Oh, I did hear from Malkin himself. I'm just saying
he talks about that's the only place he wants to play now.
Season. Yeah,
I actually thought he could, like you, and I thought maybe I could see a little deal with Florida, and maybe Malkin saying that because they started the season strong to come out, and maybe he wouldn't have been like that, but he wants to retire. I could see this also being Malkin's last year. Imagine both Malkin and Ovechkin gone next year. Yeah. But let's just say Malkin has dried up a little bit here since the early start, and that's what happens when you have more games in place, right? Yeah.
Now, the other place that I wanted to refer to is the Carolina Hurricanes. And this interesting report came out on Saturday Headlines with Elliot Freeman about Andrei Svechnikov and him wanting to go out of Carolina, which was bizarre because it kind of took everyone in the hockey world by left field. Svechnikov, this great player. And it turns out there was some truth to it because he was playing very few minutes. He wasn't producing at that rate. Now, things have changed. But the team approached him and said, hey, would you consider a change of scenery? And he initially said yes, according to the reporting. But now he's indicated, no, I don't want to go anywhere else. I'm happy here. He wants to focus on Carolina and winning there. But honestly, given the amount of agents that are clearly being scooped up by a lot of teams and being re-signed, he may potentially fetch something, especially if Carolina wants to make another big swing. However, they don't want to go down the road of what happened with the Mikko Rantanen who's talked about in previous episodes. Your thoughts on just Svechnikov potentially being moved because that would be a big deal for Carolina.
Just watching the way Carolina does business, I think that's a given. It may not be this trade deadline. It may not be this offseason. It might be next trade deadline. I think he's as good as gone. When this kind of talk gets out there, they don't want to mess around with anybody. They've said it before. If you want to be a Hurricane, then be a Hurricane, right? I don't think they're going to like this talk. They like to set a culture that players that are here want to be here. So they'll get something good for them. They have a good GM. He knows what he's doing. He's got that team running well. So, and I expect the coach isn't going to want to keep him around playing them. Now, again, that could all change if you win the Stanley Cup, but I just don't think that they're ready to win the Stanley Cup still yet this year.
Yeah, and Zelzer said he's becoming shite disturbed, jumping on rumors bandwagon. I mean, really, if things are, always out there, we're kind of listening, keeping our ears to the ground just to hear. We don't report every single rumor because there's a lot that goes up there, so you have to really pick through the weeds to make sure you know. He says the Leafs win, so good for the Leafs. That's a big statement game. But I want to talk about another player quickly before we jump into some of your stuff. And we talked about Winnipeg a little bit, but players nowadays are getting a little bit more representation in terms of what they want. And it sounds like Brad Lambert has been given permission from the Winnipeg organization to step out and look for something good. Now, doesn't mean he's going to be traded immediately. He was a 32nd overall pick a couple of years ago. Great American player. But Evan, you look at players that don't believe that they have an opportunity to play immediately. Yeah. And it's not like back in the day where, you took some time to really develop and, as we talked about, simmer and find your game, especially in the AHL or whatever league you're developing in. Players want to jump in right away and make an impact. and they're getting more and more, bold about what they want. And we had the situation with Rucker McGrody and Brendan Yeager last year. They found that deal. But what are your thoughts on Brad Lambert wanting out of Winnipeg? Because really, there's no room there for top six, right? Provided barring any injuries.
Yeah, and the truth is, did he want there in the beginning and stuff like that? Winnipeg is kind of like Carolina that way. They want to set a culture that the players. I'm amazed at how many players want to stay there, though. They love that small town feel. It's not a small town, obviously. It's a large city. They got like 700,000.
Small town feel. I understand.
It's a small town feel. It's relaxed. It's laid back. Yeah. But players, everyone knows who you are still there. If you're a Winnipeg Jet, don't be misled. But I mean, you're treated with high end, and the cost. So I know people talk about going to a place like that, but I want you to realize in the entire NHL, the lowest cost of living, not your salary, the lowest cost of living is Winnipeg. You can have
you're talking about millionaires and multimillionaires. So, anywhere you have money, you can make it comfortably and live very well.
But I would say that, but these guys are thinking I got 10 years. If I make $2 million more a year, I got 20 million, you lose 50% to taxes.
A lot of decisions.
And I think when we say millionaires, I think we got to remember, like, if you're a guy that makes, say, let's just take Rozovic, who just signed for 1.5 just for this year. He's only making $750,000. That's it. Now you're like, wow. Well, he's probably got like probably a budget that sits around 300,000 a year already, just to what he needs to be able to live, if not 500,000. He's probably living off some stuff in the bank still.
I'm sure he's doing just fine.
Well, but who are you comparing the just fine to, right? Are we comparing it to? Yeah, but that's not even close though, right?
I agree.
I mean, we can't fathom that.
No.
But you know what? I don't know if you could fathom actually living the life of an NHL player, even like a bottom fourth line guy or a bottom pairing, or sitting on the bench and being at all those practices, being in the air and traveling day after day after day after day, and you got to eat the certain foods. You can't have the stuff you want. It is a wonderful life, but
unless you're a vegetarian,
not 90% of the people.
Hot Cheetos and Pepsi.
90% of the people can never do and be disciplined and manage that. And it's not just because of their skill; it's also the mental fortitude.
Yes.
And how do you deal with the pressures? Like, say right now in Edmonton, when you're certain teams, or not just Edmonton, Toronto, or some of the pressures, like even being the managers and stuff like that. So I see, man, it's 3 minutes too. I had other stuff to cover. Let's leave it. Yeah. We haven't touched around the rink, and I wanted to touch on Olympics and the CHL prospect game. Why don't we do that, and then we'll call it a wrap.
All right.
All right, man. Brought to you by Flow Hockey. Flow Hockey, guys. If you want to catch like 50 games a night, Flow Hockey. It's the place to be. So definitely give them a shot. Great partners and working with us, and we appreciate what they do out there. But hey, let me just say this. So let's talk about the Olympics. You brought last week. You brought everyone's attention if they didn't know already. Maybe I know some of you guys have heard it, so just bear with us for a moment. Just update people there's nothing new since last week, but what was the news last week you shared once again about the Olympics and the stadium?
Yeah, the NHL team was going to go over there and after one of their events and essentially check on the rink and the progress of it. There's been rumblings that it's not like, it looks like a Stonehenge, but I think that's a little bit of an over exaggeration. But I think they just wanted to go in there just to make sure that the ice is crisp and ready. I think it will be, but they just want to get confirmation because they are sending a lot of their best players over there. And the last thing you want is an injured superstar. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, guys, if you didn't catch that, because it's not ready, there's a lot of work to get done. And they're hoping that they can have it done in time. There's even talk about they might have to ship the women out earlier, or even the first couple games for the men to another city, to another place, and it could be 3 hours or 5 hours away. But remember, it's Olympics, so it's easy for them when it comes to televising around that. So anyway, heads up. So that arena, just a quick thing, it's a 16,000 seat arena. It's in Milan. I think it's in Milan Cortina, I think is the more specifics around it. Now, the construction timeline, just to give you a couple dates, okay? It's been tight and it keeps slipping more and more and more. And so what we're talking about is the NHL team of guys who help with, because they're worried about the ice. They don't care about the stands and the fans and the scoreboards. They care about the safety because they have NHL players going over there. So they were supposed to be going over. I don't know if they're there. They were supposed to go after the Global Series, so they should be there. I haven't been able to find anything reported right now, and that's what is being referred to. So, but okay, hey, listen, let's just do a slight little change. I'm gonna tell you what just happened in the CHL Prospects game. This was yesterday. If you guys did not catch this, so the CHL Prospects used to have, right, two different sides, like a Team Orr, Team Cherry, which is Don Cherry and Bobby Orr kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And they would highlight two full teams of prospects every year for scouts to come and see. Now, here's the thing that's changed. Last year, they changed it. So it's the CHL Prospects, one team, half the players from the CHL. Remember, it's a large league that is actually constituent of or a representative of three leagues in one, called the Canadian Hockey League. Now, that's the WHL, the Quebec Maritimes Junior Hockey League, and the Ontario Hockey League. Mm-hmm. But they're competing against a USHL team, which is the National Team Development Program, who competes, the older team. They have two teams, certain amount of games, only half a season's worth of older guys and younger guys. The older ones go to the tournaments. The younger guys don't. The older ones are in this prospects game. And they won the game last night against the CHL Prospects. It was a very boring. It wasn't even that there was two games that were played last year. And so they got game one now out of the way. It was pretty boring for CHL. They don't have a lot of chemistry. But my question is, do you think that this is actually a good idea, taking a USHL single team, even though it's a development program that has many players that will never be prospects, and they're in that game, versus a CHL prospects, and half of the prospects across the Canadian Hockey League are not even represented? Do you think that that's a good idea, or what's your thoughts? You have various opinions. Sometimes you play politician. Give me your straight up answer.
I don't know what I could say more than what you've already shared, kind of. I mean, really, yeah.
Oh no, it does seem silly to take spots away from a lot of top end prospects.
I agree. I mean, you want to make the tournament fun and competitive and have the best of the best, but clearly they're not going that route.
But maybe they should have taken the best of the USHL. But guys, don't forget, last week we talked about it. There is talk.
Now, is that because they didn't invite them, or is there other underlying issues like injuries or things like that?
The whole agreement was the National Team Development Program, that singular older team that competes in the juniors and everything, would be the only team represented to go against the CHL All-Stars, essentially. Is what
and you want the best on best, but if you're not bringing the best on best,
but a national team development program isn't the other half of the best of the world juniors, right? Yeah. And and they're not, the national team development isn't even in the CHL. That's what's really weird about a prospects game. And for me, I'm sitting here going, you know what? I think this is an indicator. This is why there could very potentially be seeing the United States Hockey League joining into the Canadian Hockey League umbrella, and you have 4 full leagues playing down the road, not just 3. I think that it's even a higher possibility. The fact that they went a second year in a row and there's already plans for next year, I think that might be telling us. So anyway, that's around the ring.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Evan. I always struggle because I understand there's money involved in this, there's sponsorship and all that. You have these guys who want to play and compete, and you always want best on best, and you want to draw eyeballs to the screen or butts in seats, right? And is that really going to be something that can do that? So it'll be interesting to see. We'll be monitoring it as things go along, because it's definitely an evolving story. And we're at the end of our time. As people know, we are known sometimes as two guys in overtime. Where did you want to wrap up before we end the show here?
No, so for me, I'm good. I don't really need to cover anything else. Can I just say I'm pretty proud of Jonathan Toews in Winnipeg. Right now, he is leading the entire NHL in face-off percentages at 62.9% in face-off percentage wins. And closest is a 2% away, and that's John Tavares at 60.9. Remember everyone saying he's washed up? Man, John Tavares this year is worth $10 million. So, hey, good on Leafs fans.
Do you have him for Team Canada?
Hometown discount. I would. Like, I mean, let's talk next week. Let's get into Team Canada and Team USA. Why don't we do that and start talking a little bit about more in depth about that stuff? I think everyone wants to talk.
Sounds like a plan. Well, thanks, guys, for tuning in again to another episode, Season 7, Episode 12 of our show. We are here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are on Facebook, on YouTube. Go give us a follow and subscribe. We are putting out content regularly. We have a website with all our former guests. We have a special guest coming up next week. Hart Levine is coming on the show from Puckpedia. That's going to be exciting. And we thank all our sponsors. If you want to get involved with Two Guys in Hockey Talk, please feel free to reach out on our email, on our Twitter /X at Revenev, or myself at hockey_2. Evan, it's been a phenomenal show again. We've got a lot to cover. Hockey is just ramping up. Happy American Thanksgiving to our neighbors to the south. We wish you all the best this weekend. I know travel is going to be chaotic in the next few days. One of the busiest of the year. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I already gave my final thoughts, and I'm saying happy Thanksgiving. Guys, it's been a ring of ding-dong dandy, but as we say every week, in the famous words of Ed Whalen, in the meantime and in between time,
keep your sticks on the ice. Stay safe. Cheers, everyone.